Hey Virgo, Anna here. From Virgo. Something is being forged right now. Not for you specifically. Keep reading, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Subscribe if this already feels like it has your name on it. Okay, let's go. The forge is loud. You cannot hear it from where you are standing. That is not a failure of your perception. It is the nature of the distance between where things are made and where they are delivered. The hammer striking the anvil, the hiss of hot metal meeting cold water, the specific sound of something being shaped under controlled force, none of that reaches the person who will eventually hold the finished object. They receive only the object. The making is invisible to them. The noise belongs to another room. Something has been in the forge, being shaped, being brought to temperature and struck and cooled and brought to temperature again, the repetitive, painstaking, not at all dramatic process by which raw potential becomes a specific, functional, precisely dimensioned thing, a thing with edges, with weight, with the particular density of something that was worked rather than found. That earned its final form through the application of sustained directed force rather than arriving in it by accident. The object coming out of that forge has your name on it. Not in the mystical sense of fate, in the practical sense of fit, of something dimensioned for your specific grip, weighted for your specific strength, shaped for the specific use you will make of it, in the specific hands that will hold it, in the specific life that is waiting to be built with the tool being finished for you right now. The forge is about to go quiet. The object is almost done. Rare, not scarce in the way of arbitrary limitation, not rare because someone decided to make only a few of them. Rare in the way of things whose production requires a confluence of conditions that does not repeat easily. That requires specific materials and specific skill and specific timing and a specific person with the vision to see what the raw material could become and the capability to make that becoming possible. Most people who could have offered this did not. Not because they were unwilling, because they did not see what this person sees. Because the vision required to recognize the value of what you carry is not common, is not distributed evenly through the population of people with power and resources and the ability to extend offers that change lives. Most of them look at what you bring and see one thing. This person looked and saw another, looked more carefully, looked past what is visible on the surface to what is present beneath it, and found something they have been looking for. You are to this person a discovery, not in the patronizing sense of someone who believes they are the first to recognize your worth, but in the genuine sense of someone who encountered something in you that their experience extensive, refined, developed over years of encounter with many people and many situations had not previously located elsewhere, something that makes the rare offer not just possible, but from their perspective, obvious, clearly indicated um, the natural next move for someone who has found what they were looking for. You are what they were looking for. They did not know they were looking until they found you. Power, not the performed kind, not the power that requires an audience to exist, that lives in the size of the room and the title on the door and the number of people who defer in the presence of its holder. That kind of power is real, but it is also, in a fundamental way, dependent. It cannot exist without the conditions that produce it. Remove the room, the title, the deference, and it evaporates. The power that is approaching you is a different kind. It is the power of someone who has been tested, who went through the fire, not metaphorically, in the forge literal sense of someone whose capabilities were subjected to the kind of sustained pressure that either destroys or tempers, and who was tempered, who came out the other side of difficulty with something added rather than removed. With the specific, hard won, cannot be faked quality of a person who knows what they are capable of because they have already been required to produce it under conditions that did not permit pretense. This person knows their own mettle, and they know yours. That is the rarer thing. The ability to read the quality of another person's potential, to look at what is present and extrapolate accurately to what is possible, that requires both the vision and the experience to have seen enough versions of, both to know the difference between the genuine article and its imitation. They looked at you, they know the difference. What an offer from this kind of person actually means. Not what it contains, we will get to that, but what it means at the level of what it says about you. Because offers of this kind are not distributed casually. They are not extended to everyone with a good resume or a pleasing manner or the surface markers of competence. They are extended to people in whom something specific was recognized. Something that the offerer has enough experience to know is rare. Something that justifies the particular exposure of making a significant offer, which is always, for the person making it, a kind of declaration, a statement about their own judgment, about what they believe they saw and what they believe it is worth. When someone powerful makes a rare offer, they are staking their reputation on their reading of you. That is not a small thing to receive. It is, in some ways, more significant than the offer itself because reputations are worth more than most single transactions, and a person who has built theirs carefully does not wager it on an imprecise read, does not extend themselves in the direction of someone whose potential they have not verified through the specific, discerning, hard-to-fool process of their own assessment. You pass that assessment without knowing you were being assessed, which is the only way to pass it. Performance for the sake of performance produces a kind of result that experienced eyes recognize immediately as performance. The genuine article is visible precisely because it is not trying to be visible, because it exists when no one is watching, which means it exists also when someone is. You were seen being genuine. That is the origin of the offer, the keeping your eyes peeled part. This instruction matters, and it is worth understanding why. The offer will not arrive in a form that announces itself as the rare, significant, life-changing opportunity it actually is. That is not how significant things arrive. They come without the flashing lights, without the prefatory announcement, without the context that would allow them to be immediately recognized as what they are. They come looking like an ordinary conversation that goes slightly longer than expected, like an inquiry that seems casual until the third question reveals it isn't, like a connection that appears coincidental until the pattern of it becomes visible. Eyes peeled means attention calibrated for subtlety, not the anxious, grasping attention of someone scanning every interaction for signs of the exceptional. That calibration produces false positives, creates fatigue, and ironically makes the genuine thing harder to recognize when it arrives because everything has been designated as potentially significant. Not that the attention of a jeweler, trained, patient, capable of the specific focus required to distinguish value from simulation, not looking for anything in particular, open to everything, which is different, engaged with each encounter on its own terms, which creates the condition in which genuine value, when it appears, is immediately and unmistakably distinguishable from what surrounds it. The jeweler does not announce excitement at the presence of ordinary stones, which is why, when the extraordinary stone appears, the response is calibrated, precise, unhurried, the response of someone who knows what they are looking at and knows also that knowing is enough, that the extraordinary does not require them to be anything other than the attentive, discerning, fully present person they already are. Be the jeweler, God. The word in the title and the concept deserves honest engagement rather than either eager embracing or reflexive dismissal. Whatever your relationship to that word, whether it lands as literal or metaphorical, whether it refers to something personal or something structural, whether it names a being or a force, or the simple observation that certain things move through a life with a quality of purposefulness that cannot be fully accounted for by the visible mechanics of cause and effect. The meaning beneath it is this: what is approaching you did not originate in accident. It did not emerge from the random distribution of opportunity through a universe indifferent to individual lives. Something, call it what you will, call it alignment or timing or the accumulated effect of choices made in the right direction or the operation of a benevolence that is larger than any individual and interested, inexplicably and specifically in the flourishing of particular people at particular moments. Something directed this toward you. Not to the general category of people like you, not to anyone who happened to be standing in this general vicinity of circumstance, but toward you, the specific, named, unrepeatable you, with the specificity of something that was made to fit and therefore fits, that was aimed and therefore lands, that was brought through whatever channels are available to whatever it is that moves through channels invisible to ordinary perception. You did not earn this in the transactional sense. You did not accumulate sufficient virtue points to trigger the dispensing mechanism, but you did something or something that made you the person this was always going to reach. Not by accident, not by luck in the arbitrary sense, by the particular quality of your becoming, which arrived at exactly this configuration, at exactly this moment, in a way that made the alignment not just possible, but from the perspective of whatever is arranging these things, obvious. Obvious that it should reach you. Obvious that you are ready for it. Obvious that the forge has been producing something that fits precisely in your hands. The offer itself, its texture, its probable form. What does a rare offer from a powerful person look like in the material world? Not like the offers people imagine when they imagine powerful people making significant gestures. Not like the grand moment, the dramatic reveal, the unmistakable this is the turning point that narratives train us to expect because narratives require legibility and real life does not. It looks like a door held open a fraction longer than courtesy requires. Whew, like an invitation extended with a casualness that belies its weight because people with real power rarely dramatize what they offer. Having learned that dramatization is for people who need to compensate for the insufficiency of the thing being offered, the sufficient thing does not need theater. It looks like a question about your work asked with the specific, focused attention of someone who is not making conversation but gathering information. Like a connection made between what you do and what they need that you did not make and that they are now making in front of you, slowly enough for you to observe the making of it. Like a timeline mentioned, a possibility named, a would you be interested that is not really a question. Pay attention to the would you be interested that is not really a question. It will be the offer. It will not announce itself as the offer, but in the specific quality of its asking, the weight of it, the precision of it, the sense that the asking came after considerable consideration rather than in the moment of its utterance, you will feel the difference between a genuine inquiry and a social pleasantry. Feel for the weight. The genuine offer is heavy in the hand. After you receive it, 2 instructions, only 2. First, do not respond immediately. Not because delay is strategic, though it can appear that way, which is a side benefit, but because the offer deserves the quality of response that only time produces. The first response to anything significant is the defended response, the one the nervous system generates before the deeper intelligence has had the chance to weigh in. It may be the right response, it may not be. The only way to know is to let both responses arrive and compare their quality. Wait for the second response, the one that comes after the initial activation has settled, the one that knows what the first response was too activated to know. That is the response worth giving. Second, and this is the one that matters more, do not shrink the offer to fit your current self-concept before accepting it. This is the specific failure mode of people who have been operating from an undersized frame. They receive an offer calibrated to their actual worth, which is larger than what the old frame allowed them to claim. And they immediately, reflexively begin negotiating the offer downward into something they can receive without the discomfort of exceeding their previous limits. Do not negotiate yourself downward. The offer is sized correctly. The powerful person who made it has more experience than you in knowing what things are worth. Trust their valuation over your reflex to minimize it. Trust the forge that made the object over the hands that have not yet held it. Take what is offered at its full size without apology for receiving something that corresponds to what you actually are. Eyes peeled, Virgo. The forge has gone quiet. The object is finished, cooled, precisely dimensioned, weighted and edged, and carrying in its molecular structure the specific, irreversible record of everything that was required to make it, every strike of the hammer, every cycle of heat and cooling, every increment of refinement that brought the raw to the specific. It is about to be delivered. Not through dramatic arrival, through the particular ordinariness of something extraordinary entering a life without announcing itself through the door that was always going to open, held by a hand you perhaps did not expect, at a moment that will seem, in retrospect, both surprising and inevitable. The inevitability is the signature of something that was made for you. Things made for you fit in a way that nothing else fits. No adjustment required, no forcing, no sense that this was designed for someone else and you are making do with the approximate. The fit will tell you. The moment you hold it, you will know. You will know the way you know things that were always yours, before you were told they were, before anyone confirmed it. Before the forge went quiet and the delivery arrived and the object was placed, finally, in the hands it was made for.